WWE title belt. It has been held by greats like Bret the Hitman Hart, who's Shawn's title reign starts right now. Did you watch pro wrestling much as a kid?
I went back and forth, but I really liked Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior.
Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is great. By the way, folks, spoiler, it's not real. It's scripted. This guy.
No way.
Here. Hold on. Okay. So this is a WWE title belt. It's not just any WWE title belt. Fans, who are watching this will know this is known as the Winged Eagle WWE Championship belt, or back to this WWE. So in the 90s, right? WWF back then has had many championship title belts, but connoisseurs or fans might say, and there might be some controversy on this, the best one of all time was this guy right here, right? It has been held by greats like Bret the Hitman Hart, who's my favorite guy growing up, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, a lot of greats. They actually had a comeback where Cody Rhodes wore it recently. It is a core part of my childhood. I had it on t-shirts, everything else. And this guy, particularly thing I'm holding in my hand, when my wife and I had this podcast for the last 4 years until this job, if you watch episodes, you'll see a title behind me, on the shelf. And so I grabbed that.
That's it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So this is like some classic pro wrestling history, like right here. There you go.
Man, I love this.
There you go.
Wow. Thank you. That is amazing. So that'll be displayed at the studio from here till it's over.
Yeah. Well, Shawn's title reign starts right now. Did you watch pro wrestling much as a kid or now?
I watched it in the 90s.
Okay. Who was your favorite?
Who was my favorite? I don't know. It was probably, I went back and forth, but I really liked Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
So,
R.I.P. Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea,
Ric
sadly
Flair,
passed away.
Shawn Michaels, Jake the Snake, all of them.
What is your favorite match that you remember?
You know what I always liked was the Survivor Series cage matches.
Yes. Which one? Do you remember, for example, there was the SummerSlam one between Bret and his brother Owen, but which one?
I don't remember exactly which one, but those were always my favorite when they would all show up.
Yeah. I think when I was a kid, I loved those. And I don't know what I was watching. It was these larger-than-life characters. You had Hulk Hogan, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, train every day, the red and yellow coming out. My guy was Bret Hart. So Bret Hart, do you know Bret?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bret the Hitman Hart, I would say if you ask people for the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, Bret will always be in there. He was one of the most technically savvy wrestlers of all time. Fantastic at telling stories with his body and in the ring. Even if you watch his matches now, it is just so incredibly crisp and smooth. And I know we're talking at breakfast. You mentioned Stone Cold, Steve Austin. Bret was involved in maybe one of the most important matches of Stone Cold's career, right? Like the I Quit WrestleMania match. Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is great, right? I forget which year. I'm going to say 96, but I may be off. But so, do you know what a heel and a face is in pro wrestling?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so in professional wrestling, right? By the way, folks, spoiler, it's not real. It's scripted, and it's kayfabe, as they would say. Kayfabe is sort of the reality inside professional wrestling, and inside kayfabe, a face or a baby face is the good guy, and a heel is the bad guy, right? So Hulk Hogan, right, for years was always the face, the red and yellow, right? He slams Andre, right? He was the face. And then the heel would be the bad guy, and the heels would do evil, conniving things, they would, do a low blow or throw something in your eye, or, it's one of those things where they kind of cheat to win. Those are the bad guys. And in the 90s, what was happening was the WWE was kind of going maybe along with pop culture, was going through the shift where often sometimes the bad guys would start to get cheered a little bit more. Right? They were these anti-authority figures, and and the good guys, what people would call the classic white meat baby face, right? Like, we're not getting enough cheers. And so in '96, Brett, was, I think, I'm not sure whether he was the champion at this match, but Brett was a good guy. He was a face. He was one of the lead faces at the time. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was kind of coming up then, was a heel. He was a bad guy. And they kind of set out this match. It's called the I Quit match. And the idea behind this was that, the only way for you to win is the other guy has to say, I quit. No tap outs, no count outs. You got to say, I quit. And I think the match was in Chicago. It's WrestleMania, but WrestleMania is sort of WWE's, big extravaganza. It's like the Super Bowl. It's a big event. There's been, I think, 41 so far. And so they have this guest referee, Ken Shamrock, who's from, I think, a mixed martial arts background back then. So, and Brett and Steve had this amazing idea, right? So what happens is they fight all over the ring, all over the crowd. It's bloody. Steve Austin, he starts bleeding, cut open the hard way. It got juice, as the wrestlers would say. And at the end, Brett had his finishing move, the sharpshooter, right? And and the sharpshooter, once you're in the sharpshooter, it's like when I was a kid, right? Like, even though you had this thing with like, do not try this at home, right? Like, when my cousins were over, like, I'm putting them in the sharpshooter. Kids, don't try this at home. But at the end of the match, Steve's in this bloody mess. Brett puts him in the sharpshooter, right? And there's this iconic image of Steve just yelling out in pain, blood in his face, but he's not saying, I quit. He's not saying, I submit. And Ken Shamrock, it's like, do you quit, Steve? And he's like, no, right? And after like minutes of Steve in agony, he refuses to quit and he passes out. Right. And they end the match there. So that match was crucial for both their careers because it's one of the rare matches where they did what was known as a double turn. So a turn in pro wrestling is when a good guy becomes a bad guy, right? Like a face becomes a heel or vice versa. And in this match, because Brett would not let go of the hold, right? And he would then push Shamrock, he kind of became a bad guy. At the same time, because Steve did not give up, he was bleeding, he was in pain, he never said, I quit, right? He became a good guy. And it launched Steve's career. So that is sort of one of the, people ask you for their like top 5 matches in history, like that's like one of the top ones. So anyway, so Brett, so that's a great part of WWE history right there.
Man, thank you. Yeah. This is amazing. Totally unexpected. This is awesome.
I was excited. For this. Wrestling has been like a big part of my life. I've learned so much from it. I've learned storytelling. I've learned, what connects to audiences. Because a lot of people think about it and they go, oh, it's just like grown men in spandex, like throwing each other around, right? Or they say what you did, which is like, I used to watch it as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I used to watch it as a kid. It's great. You watch it. It's super fun. I try and getting my kids to watch it. It's great. It's spectacle. Good guys, bad guys. They're larger than life. They're huge. They're characters. But as I got older, right, I saw the sophistication and the art form, right? Like, because number one, it requires serious athletic ability. Mm-hmm. Right? These guys and women, are incredibly athletic. They're taking real risks, right? Like when they jump, off the corner and onto a table. Well, that's a real table. That's a real corner, and people have hurt themselves, and some really bad thing happens. So they're taking real risks, right? And then they're trying to tell a story, right? And instead of a story which is through CGI and dialogue, right? It is a story they're telling with their bodies, with some promos and dialogue, but also with the audience together. Okay, so wrestling only works because the audience is in there with you. Mm-hmm. And often the greatest wrestlers know to change what they're doing to get a different reaction, or sometimes change something what they're doing on the fly because of the audience. And there's a famous example of this. You know who The Rock is, obviously.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so by the way, I don't know what we're talking about here. We want to get into wrestling first, okay? And but one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time was in WrestleMania 17 in Toronto, and The Rock is a good guy, and Hulk Hogan, and The Rock's a young guy. I think it was maybe late 20s or 30s. He's kind of the peak of his young career. He's a great guy, and Hulk Hogan had come back as a bad guy, and I think Hulk Hogan was maybe in his late 40s. He was kind of in the slightly the tail end of his career, right? Like he was not the red and yellow. And this is WrestleMania, right? And you should watch it on YouTube. They come to the middle of the ring, they look at each other, and it's like light bulbs going off everywhere, like 100,000 people flashing, and and they just turn around, look at the audience, and people are like, oh my God, you get Hulk Hogan, one of the greats, the greatest of all time, slammed Andre the Giant, and then you have the people's champ, The Rock, like, and so what happens is, remember, The Rock went in as the good guy, Hogan was the bad guy. Within the first 30 seconds, right, it becomes very clear that the crowd doesn't care who the good guy or the bad guy is. They want to cheer Hulk. They want to cheer Hogan. They want to cheer their childhood hero, right? And one of the amazing things which happens is in the first 30 seconds to a minute, The Rock does good guy moves. If good guy is supposed to do work in a certain way, right? You do legitimate moves, you don't cheat, etc. And the bad guy works in a particular way. But these guys, without even talking to each other, they realize, oh wow, like this is something different. And they call an audible. And they, without even talking to each other, they say, we're going to flip the story, right? And for the rest of the match, The Rock, right, acts physically as the bad guy. And if you watch it, you can see that happen, right? And there is this amazing moment which happens where, like about near the end of the match, The Rock hits Hogan with his finisher, the rock bottom, and Hogan kicks out. And he hulks up. He's like, and he's sucking in the Hulkamaniac, sucking in the energy. And people are like connected to their childhood. I remember watching, I was connected to my childhood, right? People are like, oh my God, Hulkman is yours. No, The Rock eventually, winds up winning. But it is one of those amazing moments. I was watching it recently because obviously, tragically, Hogan passed away recently. So I went back and watched a lot of these old matches. But it's one of those amazing things where you're like 100,000 people, right? Feeling something together. To iconic superstars, right? Like knowing how to navigate them, and in the fly, without even talking to each other, redoing the storytelling and creating, something which any wrestling fan would tell you. If you're watching that, and if you don't have goosebumps, like, something's wrong with you, right? Yeah. And so anyway, I'm a big fan of pro wrestling. I still watch it now. I'm fortunate to become friendly with some of the people who do it for a living. I have a lot of respect. I learn a lot from it.
Interesting. We have a saying here at SRS, the whole team, we compare U.S. politics to professional wrestling. So
that is true.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.